Hey y'all, what's happening? Robert Kennedy III, RK3. That's me in the house with another, oh my goodness, I'm saying another, and it's really our last interview for the month of November. We've had so much fun having these community interviews, the Storytellers Growth Lab interview series. It's been fabulous. It's been phenomenal. We've had preachers, we've had chaplains, we've had life coaches, we've had business consultants, we've had all sorts of people. And today's guest, today's member of our community is unique. She does something that I don't think I know really any other people that do it personally. So we're going to talk with her a little bit about her story, what she does, why she finds joy in this thing that I could not imagine myself finding joy in, and you know what she brings to the world and how she really wants to create impact. So let's actually turn this music down, and I'm gonna bring in my friend, my buddy, community member, D. Bowden. Is this Bowden or Bowden? I keep wanting to say Bowden. Okay, Bowden. Because I know somebody named that's Bowden. I think it was like a football coach or something. That's
Bowden. Bobby Bowden. But
oh,
yeah, they say Bowden. I'm from the north, so I say Bowden.
There we go. What's happening? How you doing?
What's up, Robert? RK3. I can't believe I'm actually here in the building. OMG! Yeah. I finally made it to the stage. I made it to the stage. Y'all don't even understand. I'm so like, yes.
Yeah. Well, listen, I should be thrilled. Everywhere I go, every stage I go to, every person stage I go to, I see D. D is like around with all the greats. So I'm kind of like, okay, let me just have this person in my orbit. Then maybe a little bit of the greatness that she's pulling in will rub off on me too. How about that?
You are very kind. You're very kind. Well, here's what's funny. People, you know what's crazy? I get that a lot.
Yeah.
But you know what I've learned is this. There's a gift I learned, which is it talks about in the scripture. It talks about being an encourager. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I learned is that you may not be able to do a lot for a lot of people, but if you can show up and be a support person, you can be an encourager. If you can just, somebody's doing something, you can like their post, you can share it. If they have something, you show up and you participate on a regular basis, which is what, you and I've done. I've done a couple of your challenges. Yeah. And then, thanks to Rocky, we got connected and we found out we have this connection from Boston. Yeah. Music and church and bands and all this other stuff. And then, as you know, I've been working on my speaker journey now, and learning how to slow down and tell my story and have some fun with it. And so it's been this cool thing. But yeah, first of all, thank you so much for the opportunity to be here, for the kind words. But on top of that, it really is about being an encourager, because I've learned that a lot of times as people are doing things and are stepping out, there aren't always a lot of people that support them. And I learned that one of the ways you can differentiate yourself is by being a supporter. So that's one of my things.
I love it. And it definitely, you say it so smoothly and easily, but it's not something that it just kind of happens. There is an intentionality behind it. You literally have to recognize, okay, this is how much time I'm going to spend investing in other people today, and that could be to my benefit. It could be to my detriment. It might take away time from stuff that I might be able to spend time building otherwise. But then there's also this piece where I am providing that support, that I am providing a service to other people. And, maybe it'll come back, maybe it won't, but I'm not doing it because I expect to be blessed because of it. I'm doing it because that's who I am, and that's how I want to show up in the world.
Exactly.
So yeah, so I appreciate you. For that. So let's talk a little bit about your story here. What I know about you is that you are in this world where when people hear the title of what you do, you almost always have to kind of explain, no, it's not that bad.
I do it all the time. All the time.
So tell us what you do. I'm just going to say one word: collections. How about that?
Okay.
And you can take it from there.
All right. So, collections. When most people hear the words collections, what do you think of? You think of somebody who's harassing you for your medical bill, your cable bill, your phone bill, or something. There are two types of collections. There's consumer collections, which is all the things I just named, and then there's what's called business to business collections, or in the corporate world is actually called accounts receivable. And so my career has been in accounts receivable and contract administration. And so I end up, when people hear you're a debt collector, I am, but I'm not. I am in this regard. I collect money or recover money for government entities, corporations, and businesses, either small and medium. And so my success has been working for IT companies, software companies, as I mentioned, government agencies. And so I kind of got into this journey of collections and enjoying it is because collections in my world is three things. It's problem solving, number one. Number two, it's an extension of customer service. And number three, my secret sauce for doing the type of work that I do is expressing gratitude.
Yeah.
So I can tell you about it through a story.
Oh, let's hear it.
Okay. So about 15 years ago, I used to work for a small IT firm outside of Boston, where I'm from. I got hired by the collections department because they had a gap and they needed somebody to come in and collect some money. They sold software services, software licenses, etc. They had $8 million worth of sales on the books, but not in the bank. So like I just said, I got hired by the collections department, and they're like, come here, welcome aboard. Here's your list of accounts. We need you to go collect the cash. So I go sit in my cubicle, and I'm like, I don't know how this happened, but I need to figure it out quickly. So because I'm a believer, I literally went to God. I'm like, hey, God, yes, D, how you doing? Good, you? Good. I need help real quick because I'm stuck. I got an $8 million problem. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. So I get quiet, and then I remember this little book. It's actually called God's Creative Power for Finances. And in the book, it talks about collecting accounts receivable. So I literally said my prayer, said my affirmation, and I declared out loud that I'm going to get this. It's no different than football players. If we have anybody who's watching tonight who's a sports fan, you know your favorite team gets in the zone before they go play the game.
That's right.
My zone was getting my affirmations and myself hyped to go collect this cash and go figure out that I needed to solve this $8 million problem, number one. And number two, make sure that the company that hired me made a good investment, because I needed to show that I could do this. So in 60 days, I recovered $6 million while working part-time. Yeah, so we had $8 million worth of sales. I collect 6. But unfortunately, the company is a small company. We're talking less than 100 people. They made an executive decision to close the company. This is 2 months before Christmas. And so how I got here was being a worker bee. I collect the money. I pick up myself off the floor, and I'm like, wow, if this could happen to this company. Now, this is years later. But what started me on my journey to love doing this is that I love solving problems. And so when I figured out that this company had this problem, I wondered how many more companies had this problem. And so I've been on a journey throughout my career and now starting my business to say, how can I teach small business owners to not let what happened to me happen to them in their business by tracking their accounts and making sure that they're making sure that the sale is complete and that the money's in the bank. And so that's how I got here.
So do you find that a lot of small businesses fall into that trap of companies or vendors or contractors owing money to them that is collectible, but they just haven't gotten around to it for whatever reason?
Yeah, I do, and I believe that the reason they haven't gotten around to it is because, just like when you started out the conversation, you said when people hear collections, they go, oh, they don't want to do that part. But on top of that, a lot of people, I think, in business are concerned about the relationships, because if you think about it, if you and I have had a contract, and then all of a sudden something goes awry, I might not want to have to. I don't want to mess up a relationship, so I don't want to come and ask you, how come you haven't paid me?
Right.
Because then it gets weird.
Right.
But I'm in business, and you bought my product or my service, so I'm expecting you to do what you said. I'm expecting you to fulfill your promise to pay and pay me.
Right.
And so that's where it gets difficult. And so that's why in companies you have departments. You have a sales department. What do? They just sell. Salespeople normally don't collect. You've got accounts receivable. My division, what we do is we collect. We solve problems and we figure out, whatever happened on the front end, we fix it on the back end by that's what we do. So yeah, it's one of those things that a lot of people don't like doing it. Is because they're concerned about the relationship, and then a lot of times they don't have the right words to say. Like, how do you go and say, can you pay me? No, you can't. That's not how it goes. You got to have a conversation. It's, for me, collections or business to business collections, accounts receivable, it's all relationship. I just happen to be in the relationship of solving your money problem on a small basis, medium basis, or large basis.
Yeah.
But I still have to build a relationship. I still have to figure out like what was the breakdown, and then I've got to basically take the puzzle that's kind of all gnarled up and untangle it, and then get you, the vendor that owes me money, to pay me or pay the customer. The company don't work for.
Yeah. So you're talking about relationships quite a bit. So what would you say is maybe one of the bigger lessons that you've been able to transfer from your collections experience or your debt collections experience into your own personal growth? What are some of the biggest things that you've been able to, that you've learned in this process?
Oh, I've definitely learned number one, for me, I brought one of the things I've learned is that I need my faith to do this. So my relationship with God is paramount to me being able to do any of this. That's the number one thing I've learned. Secondly, I've also learned that you got to have a sense of humor to do this. Yeah. A lot of people that in life, they get really wound about a lot of different things. And because I deal with money and lots of money, I had to learn to find the humor. Right. The saying that says, never, I think it says humor, never leave home without it. Well, I try to definitely have fun with this, because I know that when people get tense about money, they shut down, they won't talk, and the conversations get real short, real quick. On top of that, I've learned that how do you talk about a subject like this and present it in such a way that people will go, oh, well, that's different. Because like I said, the three things I learned were that collections is problem solving. Right. So it's no different than if you have your cell phone, and let's say you get your bill and something is amiss. Well, you're going to get on the phone. You're going to call into AT&T or Verizon or whoever it is, and you're going to talk to customer service. The first things they're going to ask you is, "Oh, Mr. Kennedy, thank you so much for being a customer with us. What seems to be the problem? How can we?" Because they want to keep the relationship. They want to keep you happy. And so they're gonna want to drill down and find out what's wrong. You're gonna tell them, "Oh, I have this problem. I got charged for something that I canceled 2 months ago." Oh, if you get the right customer service rep, they're going to get on the phone. They're going to want to fix it. They're going to make it adjust it. They're going to offer you a credit. They're going to do something because they don't want to lose the relationship. Yeah. Relationships are everything. And it's so funny because a lot of people are like, I would have never thought about it like that. And that's only because the misconception or the myths around collections are that people are aggressive. Right. They lack empathy. They're just dialing for dollars. There are some people that are like that on both sides, on the consumer side and the commercial side. It's no different than any other space. You have good and bad apples in everything. You have to take the good with the bad. I learned that I learned in my career, being that aggressive and being that assertive and being, doing the things that I just described, that didn't work. What did work was building a relationship, being funny. And then I figured the secret sauce was when I came back and said, thank you. That's when that's what opened up the door. People's like, nobody ever comes back and says, thank you. I thank you for taking my call. I thank you for helping me do the research. I thank you for making sure we get paid. And then building that relationship. And then I send a note. I usually follow up with a quick email. Thank you so much for helping me get this done. And what it does is I build allies. So the next time I'm calling that customer or that company, hey D, what do you need? Oh, we got you. But it's that. And I learned those 3 principles of problem solving, customer service, and gratitude. And once gratitude began to open up doors, I was like, I'm on to something, because that's what separates me, because people don't go back and say thank you. And it's funny. It's a little thing, but you'd be surprised that just pausing to say thank you, I'm telling you, it's been life changing. And for the amount of money that I've collected, the millions of dollars, it's been that. And so now I'm on a journey actually to tell my story actually in a new book which is coming out in the spring of 2021, actually called
Wow.
Collect Cash. Hmm.
Wow, awesome! I'm excited about that. So
Thank
I
you.
want
Me too.
I want to ask you about that in a second, but I want to go
Sure.
back a little bit further for just a moment. So you've told us the story of collecting the 6 million, collecting, being tasked with the 8 million, but I also look at where I am now, and I look back at the journey that I've taken. I've identified some of the turning points or some of the clues that were in my life from early on that
Yep.
indicated that where I am now is I'm in the right place, right?
Hmm.
So, do you have anything like that? What are some of the things that you may have seen earlier on that now you look back and you're like, ah, yeah, that makes sense. What do you have any connection points from before that
Absolutely.
$8 million story?
So before the $8 million story, I've always been a person that likes to know the why behind the what. So I've always been curious. I've always liked puzzles, and every job I've ever had has always had some kind of puzzle.
Wow.
It's always been that. So, getting started in my career, I used to be a data entry clerk. How do come you have all these invoices that are stacked up? Oh, that's because somebody neglected it.
Wow.
Um, I've always it's always been about problem solving for me. It's always been understanding the why behind the what. It's always been about I've always been a kind of detailed, task oriented person. So I've always liked to achieve things. So collections, just like sales, you've got a quota to meet, you've got numbers to meet.
Right.
It's always been that thing for me. And then when I discovered that I was really good at this, and then I actually enjoyed it, because a lot of people would think there is no way in the world you tell me you enjoy this. I actually do. I actually have fun, and
Yeah.
that's because I made a decision. I made a
Yeah.
decision to do this differently.
Wow.
And so as I started learning the systems, okay, things got messed up. So another story, excuse me, around this was me working for an engineering firm. I started off at this engineering firm as a data entry clerk. Then I worked in accounts payable, so that's the billing department.
Right.
I met my first contract administrator, and I was like, "Ooh, what do you do?" And he was like, "Oh, every business has a contracts department that manages, the agreements." And I was like, "I want to learn that part." So
Hmm.
I spent a year under him. I got trained, and then I got promoted to be the contract administrator for a construction division.
Right.
They were building a water filtration plant, and they had hundreds of thousands of dollars of invoices that hadn't been paid.
Yeah.
It was another huge problem. Same. So the pattern has been: I get these problems, I have to untangle it, I have to build the relationships, I have to figure out the why behind the what, and then I realized, okay, that's kind of been the story of my life. The bigger piece has been also adding my faith. It's been
Right.
putting, bringing God into the mix, and not in a big preachy way, but more just recognizing that that's the gift He gave me, and I
Right.
want to honor Him by doing the thing I enjoy. And so I found this is what I like, and now it's been to create a book, or to
Yeah.
the time to decide to tell my story and to teach small business owners why this matters, and then prayerfully they'll they won't end up like the company that I worked for that went out of business, and
Wow.
that's what makes it personal.
Wow. So do you consider yourself lucky? And I'm kind of setting you up for something here. I'm asking you a yes or no question, and I typically don't ask yes or no questions. So, but I want to start with this. Do you consider yourself lucky? And here's where I'm leading. There are a lot of people that they go through college, they get a degree, and they're in this field or they're in a career, and they don't like it. They're not really getting joy from it. And they hear these people on TV, they hear these life coaches saying, hey, follow your passion, pursue your purpose, do what you love. And they're like, well, doggone it, I don't know what I love. Right? I know how to do this, and I know that I hate that.
Right.
Or I don't really find joy in it. How do you advise someone who may not have had the luck or the path that has said, oh yeah, I enjoy collections. I just happened to be in this thing and I found that I liked it. You just kind of use the word decision there.
Mhm.
So can you talk to that a little bit? How would you advise
Sure.
somebody like that?
Well, here's what I'll tell you. I didn't wake up today and go, "Ooh, I want to do this."
Yeah.
I my journey to get here started out with me working for a supermarket chain, shagging the carts,
Right.
in groceries, being the clerk in the store. And I realized, okay, I don't really like this. So I kind of feel like Goldilocks, my journey's kind of been, this has been too hot, this has been too cold, and I finally found the what's right.
Right.
Um, I would tell you, number one, don't be afraid to try new things, and then write down. I'm a big, I like journals, so I believe you need to take some quiet time and write down like a T square, good, bad. What do you really like? What can't you stand? Okay, and then I think you have to continue to make decisions to figure out, okay, what lights you up. Like for me, what lights me up is figuring out the why behind the what. And when I saw like that was my theme, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna continue pursuing the why behind the what's,
Right.
and find the things that light me up, that,
Right.
that bring me joy. And
Right.
so I would tell you, write it down. Number one. Number two, I tell you, if you don't know, take a class.
Wow.
Sometimes you end up taking. Sometimes you end up discovering what you're really good at by taking a class. You might take a class, or you might take one of those personality tests, and it gives you like Myers-Briggs, and it'll give you you're a INTF or you're a ENTJ, and
Right.
you'll take the test. You'll figure out like what those letters mean, and then you'll start to look at, okay, I've always been like this, and those letters tell you you're extroverted, you're analytical, you're judgmental, and there's something else, and you're like, oh my gosh, and then you'll look back and go, yep. And you'll look at your jobs and you go, yep, this is what I've always done. Or you look at the type of people you hang out with, or the things that you really enjoy. There's
Yeah.
something about that. It kind of shapes what you enjoy. Like, so I enjoy problem solving, but I also enjoy smooth jazz, and I enjoy
Yeah.
rock, and I enjoy hot air balloon rides, and I
Yeah.
enjoy Ferris wheels. None of those all fit together, but somehow those are the things that jazz me up and make that refresh me. So I'm like, okay. So I make sure that those things are part of my world. That's what
Yeah.
makes me feel good.
Yeah, yeah. But what if I'm afraid though? Because I think one of the things that holds some people back is that they feel trapped because they're in this job and they're like, okay, I make X amount of dollars.
Yep.
I've got X amount of bills.
Yep.
I'm not enjoying this, but I don't have the time. I'm living paycheck to paycheck. I can't afford to stop to figure stuff out. And what my next step is, because if I do, then everything's going to fall apart. How do you share that? How do you speak with those people?
Okay. Well, number one, all of us have responsibilities. So
Yeah.
when you're listening to us, I'm never going to tell you to just jump out there and just leave. That's like
Yeah.
bananas. Number one, you have to be, or you need to be, whichever word fits for you, a responsible human being. So if you
Right.
have a mortgage, you have family, you've got bills, you have your job. Your job allows you the resources so you can do the other things in your life. That's the first thing. Secondly, if you're struggling with your job and you're not happy with that, you may have to take some quiet time. You may have to go take a walk. You may need to go to the gym. I don't know. You may have to sit. And that's the thing, that's part of it. You're not going to figure this out until you actually sit down and get quiet, because
Yeah.
you've got too much outside noise that's saying you have to.
Yeah.
I got here. So I'm a dualpreneur. I still have a career and I'm building my business. So let me speak to the people. So because I've heard people tell you, oh yeah, you want to start a business, just jump out there. Absolutely, do not do that. Do not. I don't know how to say it in any other word in English. Don't do that. Number one, you have no idea whether what you do in your career will translate into becoming an entrepreneur. You don't. Secondly, have you taken any classes? Have you read any books? Have you spoken to anybody who actually has a business to find out what it really takes to become a business owner? Because in these internet streets, they will make it look, I dream of Genie, one of these real quick, and you are done. And it's so not that. It is so not that. Deciding to become a business owner, an entrepreneur, requires one, first of all, you need to make sure you're going to set up your business legally. That's the
Yep.
first. Number two, you need to have because if you haven't sold anything, you're going to be funding your business from your paycheck.
Right.
And you need to have savings. And if you are partnered or married, him or her, you need their agreement, because you're going to be taking time.
Okay. I just lost your audio, D. I think you hit something.
Can you hear me now? Okay.
Yep, we got you.
Sorry. So I was saying, if you're going to become an entrepreneur, if you are partnered or married, him or her, you need their support for you deciding to go pursue this dream. Number three, you got to save some money.
Yeah.
You can't just jump. What bothers me are the people that just tell you to just jump on it, you just start a business. You don't know the first thing about business. You can't even spell business. Are you serious?
BIDNIZ. Yeah.
That part. And for the record, let me share this. So part of how I got here was I started a business 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. I thought because I knew how to collect money, I knew everything about running a business. Right. And I went to school. I did this training. I jumped out there 10 years ago to start this business. Failed miserably. I mean, I collected some money, but I didn't know all of the components to run a business. So I started it, made some money, but I didn't have enough. I didn't know enough about sales and pipelines and leads and all the other components. So I unfortunately had to close. Well, unfortunately or fortunately, I was smart enough to recognize this isn't working. So I closed the business and I went back to work. And for those people, I share that because I want people to understand that sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes you absolutely have to do that. So I did. So I did that 10 years ago. I jumped out there, thought I knew everything, did not. Yeah. Made a mess, got in debt, paid it off, went back to work. I built my career for the past 10 years. And now the second time of me creating my new company, B-Set Solutions, is alongside of me working in my career. Mm-hmm. So the side hustle, the side gig, yes. Do I have one? Absolutely. But I also I went back to school again and spent a whole year learning about sales and marketing and social media and websites and leads and speaking and all these other things. I've been working on this diligently, on the side while I continue to have my career. So I'm going to tell you proudly, yes, I'm a dualpreneur. Absolutely. And if I get to a point where I'm able to fully transition into my business full time, that's phenomenal. If it stays as my side hustle, that's fine too. Or if I wake up and go, you know what? I'm good. I'm gonna shut it down and I'm gonna just do my career. That's fine. The point is that what I'm working toward is making a difference, and I know I can make a difference by sharing my story. I can make a difference by teaching business owners how to collect the cash, and I'm working on my legacy, and my legacy will be my book.
Wow. So we only have a couple of minutes here. Let's wrap by talking about that book. When is it going to be released? What's it about? How can we support it and get a hold of it?
Well, thanks for that. So number one, I don't have the link yet, but I will soon. But anyway, the book is called Collect the Cash. The book comes out spring of 2021. It's being published by Penn Legacy. So that's what's happening. So it's the journey of it's my story about how I decided to take this thing called collections and teach business owners what to do. Number one. Number two, it's also why I do what I do. And then number three, it's you'll learn the lessons of more about how I infuse my faith into what I do, and why faith and affirmations are a necessary part of how I collect cash and how I teach people and how I live my life. So
excellent.
Yep. So I'll have to when the book comes out, I'll come back and we'll do a premiere, and I'll tell you all about it.
Love it. Awesome. Well, listen, D, you've given us some gold tonight. You've told us your story. You've given us some entrepreneur, some business advice. You've given us some life advice, and it's been amazing. For those of you that are watching tonight, this is our last one this month, but if you are watching and you found value in this, I encourage you to invite someone to the group, share this with them, because all of these interviews. We've had some amazing people. We have a vast vault of knowledge and experience inside of this community. And if there's anything that you need, if there's anything that you want to be able to leverage in order for you to grow, I guarantee you that it's here. I guarantee you that it's here. So let's use each other. Let's leverage each other. Let's not try to take this journey alone. I lean on that African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with others. So let's really lock in with each other, tell our stories, learn how to impact, influence, and inspire in a bigger way, because that's the whole reason why you have the experiences that you do and the story that you do. So listen, y'all, everything that happens to you in life is your stuff. Your stuff is your story, and your story deserves a stage. We'll be seeing y'all real soon for our upcoming challenge in December and January and some other stuff. We're going to be sharing that real soon, so be on the lookout for that. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and if we don't speak before then, have a happy Thanksgiving. We'll see y'all.